There's a kind of fear that doesn't scream, that whispers. It doesn't stop you all at once. It just slows you down, just gradually enough that you forget what movement even feels like. It tells you to wait until you're ready, to make sure it's perfect, to think it through just one more time. And before you know it, years pass and you're still waiting. You're still thinking. You're still perfecting. You're still not creating at all. What I want to explore with you is this: the greatest creative death. It doesn't come from failure. It comes from waiting for the right feeling to begin. We think our thoughts and emotions will one day align perfectly and carry us into creation. But feelings, they're like waves. They rise, they fall. They were never meant to steer the ship. The truth is this: creativity, it doesn't ask you to wait until you're fearless. It asks you to move while you still tremble, to act before you feel ready, because every time you act in faith rather than fear, something inside you wakes up again. Jacob is a subscriber who has given me permission to share his story. One night, he stumbled across my video on the hope cycle. He said that it wasn't even what he was looking for. It just found him. A few days later, he emailed me. His words were heavy with years of silence. He told me that he used to be fearless, that as a child, creativity was as natural as breathing. But over time, he began to entertain insecure thoughts, giving them space until they became beliefs. And those beliefs, they began to steer him. He said, "Carlos, I've been living as if my fear is wiser than my faith." Jacob wrote that he had been waiting, that he had been depending, he'd been relying, almost worshiping his feelings and thoughts to drive him. But they were unreliable drivers, always looping him back to hesitation. He told me, "Carlos, I thought I was being patient, but I was really hiding." That's what fear seems to do best. It disguises paralysis as preparation. It convinces us that our stillness is strategic when it's really avoidance wearing discipline's clothes. And each day that we obey it, a little more of our creative voice fades. Something in the hope cycle interrupted Jacob's obedience. He said, "Carlos, something in your video made me stop for just a second. And in that second, I realized that I was depending on my feelings to rescue me. It wasn't inspiration that he lacked. It was motion. He'd been waiting for the wind to change, not realizing that he was holding the sail the whole time. That single second of awareness cracked the door open to something that he hadn't felt in years: possibility." I suggested to Jacob that he start a creative journal. He said the idea, it felt strangely familiar, like holding a forgotten instrument that still remembered his touch. When he began to write, the pages didn't demand greatness, only honesty. He started by writing about his pain, not to drown in it, but to form a relationship with it. And over time, that pain, it began to soften, to speak, to reveal what it had been guarding all along. his desire to create from truth, not fear. He told me the journal felt like home, like remembering what he used to live for. So here's my challenge to you. Start a creative journal, not for perfection, not for progress, but for presence. Write through the fog of fear until you can hear your own voice again. You don't need to wait for clarity to begin. Beginning creates clarity. Your art, it doesn't need to be fearless. It just needs to be faithful. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's movement through it. Now go. Honor truth, face what is, speak what's real, and create from the deepest place you know. There'll come a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when you'll realize the fear never truly leaves, but neither does the call. And in that tension, something holy happens. The trembling hand still creates. The uncertain heart still writes. The cracked voice still speaks truth. That's when creation becomes courage. Not because you've silenced the fear, but because you've refused to bow to it. You're not waiting anymore. You're moving. And that movement is your freedom.